One of the fantasy football. It's finally here, but here's a few tight ends I would look to bench here in week one. The first guy's Hunter Henry of the New England Patriots. So Hunter Henry here, we know he's been a pretty good tight end throughout his career, obviously with the Los Angeles Chargers, but in the offseason he signed a big contract here to go to the New England Patriots. And the only good thing I think for Henry's purposes is that Cam Newton obviously got released and he's not the quarterback, so they're going to have a more of a traditional offense over there in New England with Mac Jones, the rookie, starting the season. But right here, once again, Hunter Henry's back coming out of training camp with the shoulder injury. And this week, he's probably going to play, but I don't see him being out there much. And obviously, the Patriots got Jonnu Smith as well, so they got that 1-2 combo once again, like they used to with Rob Gronkowski and Hernandez with Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. That's the same type of formations Bill Belichick's trying to run, throwing big money at both these players in the offseason to sign here in New England. But for the rest of the season outlook, I like Henry way more, like I mentioned, with Mac Jones at quarterback. But for this week, with a pretty tough matchup versus Miami, and with it being week one and him banged up with the shoulder injury, I can't trust Hunter Henry right now, especially as a starting tight end. So this week, I would shy away from him and bench him with those many factors playing into it. The next tight end I would bench this week's Austin Hooper of the Cleveland Browns. So Austin Hooper last season, he got a big contract in the offseason with the Browns, leaving the Falcons here for obviously Cleveland. But right here, he wasn't that great last season. He was banged up as well with the injury. And he was a player taken as a late-round flyer in many fantasy drafts as Hooper. And a lot of good reports coming out of training camp heading into the season here, where they're saying Hooper looks good. He could be one of the top targets for Mayfield. But I just don't buy it. Austin Hooper, he was great with Matt Ryan and that Atlanta Falcon offense. But right here, I don't think Baker is really keen at hitting the tight ends. And obviously, you got to feed Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry to keep those guys happy. But this week, I don't like many Cleveland Browns to start anyway this week here. It's a tough matchup at the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs, they're going to try to get off to a quick lead and make that offense one-dimensional, where they know the Browns got to pass pretty much every down here. And that's where that Chief defense thrives and really locks in and shuts down offenses once they get up to that big lead. But right here, I can't trust Austin Hooper. He was too inconsistent last season, and I just don't like the matchup either. So right now, he's a tight end I'm going to bench. And the final tight end I would bench this week's Evan Engram of the New York Giants. So a lot of Giants I have on these bench lists this week because of injuries and because a tough matchup versus the Denver Broncos. But right here, the three guys I said to bench on the Giants, and my running backs I said Barkley, my receivers Galladay, both those guys coming off an injury. And right here, Evan Engram, he hasn't practiced yet. He's banged up as well with a calf injury, so not a good way here for week one for the New York Giants with their three best playmakers banged up and injured. And plus a tough matchup versus this Denver Bronco team that wants to prove they could compete this season with a new regime and a new quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater, and Von Miller back in the mix at the linebacker position after pretty much missing all of last season. So Evan Engram, he's been inconsistent. Last season, he only had 2 touchdowns on the whole year. And I can't trust Daniel Jones, in my opinion, throwing to most of these guys. Daniel Jones has been a turnover machine and an inconsistent quarterback so far in the first few seasons here in the NFL. And right now, with the injury Ingram's dealing with and with the Bronco defense, I think it spells disaster if you're going to throw Engram out there. The most he's probably going to do is 40, 50 yards in this game. And right here, I don't think he's going to be productive. So that's a few tight ends I would bench here in week one of the fantasy football season.